There was only the boy and his captor. Crumbs of light peppered them through holes in the side of the... What, exactly? The boy assumed they were inside an old water tower, maybe a silo. But he couldn't be sure. After the fall, everything looked the same to him. Fields of muted, twisting steel.
You awake yet, View?
His captor, a man going by the name Grimsteps, asked, licking his lips. View. That was what Grimsteps and his kind called the boy. A name not for a person, not even an animal, but a resource. A resource that once powered the world that the two now hid in the corpse of. No one knew why it happened, or even really how. But one day, oh, so long ago, the views just simply disappeared. And with them, civilization. The boy looked around groggily, feet and hands useless against the ropes that tied them down. "What do you want from me, you freak?" he said. Grimsteps rubbed his palms together and licked his lips again.
Oh, you know exactly what I want.
He bent down to the boy and took a long, deep sniff of his hair.
God damn.
The boy wriggled and writhed, but it was no use. He barely had enough range of movement to pull his face away from the filthy man that cast a shadow on him. Grimsteps was hungry, starved, in fact. And as he stood over the boy, delicious thoughts raced through his mind. The boy could see the hunger in his eyes, visible through the cutouts in his face stocking. He winced at the thought of what was going to happen to him. But both of them knew it was no simple matter, consuming a view. Grimsteps pulled himself away with some difficulty. There was a process for things of this nature. The boy watched as he pulled a flimsy chair into view, set it down next to a record player, then flipped through vinyls to play. But they both knew that there was only one option. There was only ever one option for music. The boy watched with pleading eyes as Grimsteps set the large black disc down on the player. He switched it on, but held the stylus back, letting it spin and crackle until he was ready. The boy fought harder against the rope, thinking he might have heard it give, but in reality, it was little more than the creaking of his own malnourished, weakened bones. Finally, Grimsteps grabbed a large leather book, held together with staples and tape, pages visibly tattered. He sighed as he opened the heavy thing and placed a hand on the stylus next to him, now ready to begin. The boy stared at the stylus. "Please, there's no need to do this. You don't need to keep doing this. I know you don't really enjoy it, and I know you think you have to do it, but you..." Grimsteps only laughed, in that particular, mad sort of way.
All these years, and no matter who I harvest, there's always one constant. You all think you're so goddamn clever.
He pressed the stylus down, and the record player sparked to life with the crackling music, the abominable music. The boy tried to bring his hands to his ears, but it was no use. The melodies flowed into him, and he screamed as the painful harvest began. Grimsteps laughed at his pain. The music brought back memories for the boy, dark recollections of the view farms from before the fall, of his life in bondage, where this music, the only music, played endlessly throughout the farm. "No!" the boy screamed. "Not Muse Dark Piano Volume 1! Anything but Dark Piano Volume 1! Tears ran down his face, and his ears burned. Grimsteps crossed his legs and propped his old book on his knee. But stopping himself, he said,
Now, before we start, it should be said that only 5% of my viewers are subscribed. So remember, if you like what I do,
He paused for effect.
be sure to stick around.
The boy screamed again, and Grimsteps flipped to a story to begin the harvest.
Let's start tonight with...
He traced his finger down the page. He clicked it and made a victorious grunt as he found a story.
We'll start tonight with the Russian sleep experiment.
Minutes trickled into hours, and the boy's wails slowly devolved into quietly painful spasms as story after story ushered along his death. Tales of game cartridges from flea markets, threatening titles drawn on in Sharpie. Stories of confusingly sexualized faceless monsters. And most important of all, the cornerstone of a view harvest, with the accounts of Fred the Killer, Brian the Killer, Danny the Killer, Janet the Killer, and Mazine the Killer. Murderers or misunderstood teens, and all with their own unique gimmick. The boy's body convulsed when he heard the story of Ethel the Killer and her sewn-on button for an eye, which, of course, she had taken from her childhood teddy bear before she burned down her family home with her domineering single mother still inside. But, of course, she spared her little sister, who, really, was just another victim of her domineering mother. "God, just kill me already!" the boy cried. "I can't take this anymore!" Grimsteps paused, stood, and went over to the boy's twitching body, and ran his finger through a small puddle of blue aura that had started to collect on the boy's chest. Grimsteps licked his finger.
Oh, my sweet, sweet view. You're nowhere near finished.
The harvest continued late into the night. Grimstep's voice, sometimes muffled and hard to hear with the blue stocking he wore over his head. He knew this, but refused to remove it. The stocking, like his top hat, and his patchwork suit, all these were part of the process. No harvest would be complete without the reader's persona. The blue aura now spilled from the boy, dripping onto the floor beneath him. Almost done. Almost done. But as Grimsteps watched with hungry eyes and read in a perfectly practiced, monotone way, he paid no mind to just how loud the boy was screaming. And that was his one and only mistake.
"I'm a scuba diver, and I found something in the Great Barrier Reef."
A voice came suddenly. Grimsteps, for the first time, paled, and even the boy stopped screaming. The boy flashed his captor a look, asking, "Did you hear that?" Grimsteps nodded. They waited in the quiet to hear it again. And sure enough,
I'm a search and rescue officer, and I found some stars in the forest.
Grimsteps threw himself up and grabbed a shotgun, pumping the action.
Goddamned no sleepers!
He barked at the voices amassing around them, just outside the walls. The boy frantically followed Grimstep's darting eyes and pleaded, Grimsteps, please kill me. Just kill me. Don't let them take me. The man slapped the boy into silence and called back to the no-sleepers outside.
This view is mine, you hear? Mine!
Creepypasta is dead, Grimsteps. You're just the last flea on the mat.
There was a crack as Grimsteps fired once at the wall, revealing moonlight outside, but only causing the no-sleepers to laugh.
We will rise again. We are more powerful than you could possibly imagine. We only waned because you stole our views.
The building shook as the no-sleepers cackled louder.
You blame us for your kind's downfall? Your failures are your own, old man.
Not everything has to be described in first person, you hacks!
And every monster doesn't need to be described with empty, bloodied eye sockets.
You little bastards!
Grimsteps fired again, and this time hit his mark. With the gunshot came a mighty howl from the things gathered outside. And in response, the no-sleepers rushed into the room, looking like a black, samey mass that quickly enveloped Grimsteps. But in the struggle, the panic, the boy was granted that 1 in a million chance, and his ropes gave. He wasted no time and ran into the night. He clutched at his leaking chest, aura trailing behind him, the smell of it drawing out hundreds of no-sleepers from the ruins around him. What could he do? His heart raced. He spied a tree line and ran for it. He was weak, tired. The harvest was nearly done when the no-sleepers attacked. But even if he had only a fraction of life left, he'd use it. He'd escaped the view farms. He'd escape this too.
View!
Came cries from behind him.
Fresh view!
The samey mass rallied and bore down on him. Almost at the tree line. But the boy might have wished he'd let the no-sleepers tear him apart in the end. For when he reached the forest, a single sound boomed across the land. A bellow of a mighty beast rising. The no-sleepers squealed and quickly slinked back to their hidey holes. Not even they could challenge this. The boy looked up in open-mouthed horror as a titan of a thing, face made of static and trees, rose. A black void opened where its mouth might have been, and the last thing the last view heard were the words that no creepypasta and no no-sleeper could compete with. Words spoken by a creature far older than both of them.
Top 5 ghosts caught on camera.
Before I head off today, I want to give an absolutely massive thank you to my beautiful, glorious patrons, Lady Nevermore, Skulk Queen, Catherine Gordon, The Curator, and Stephen Stevens.